Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Hey, everybody, welcome. Like I said earlier, we are kicking it up here because one of the things I realized is that we have always been committed to positive talk. You know, there are so many things people have said about us, so many labels that, you know, we get, but without doubt, it's been positive talk, whether it's positive solution-based talk, whatever it is, that's us. That's TTN, you know, Transformation Talk Network, that's us. It's been about that since day one. The Dr. Pat Show before was crust busting. And I made a commitment to all of you to bring to the forefront again some of those things that were essential for all of you. That's what today's show is about. The Body Channel with medical intuitive Lynn Waldrop. This is what I love. When you understand that someone like Lynn has what it takes inside of her to help us on the inside out. And we realize that I am here with you today because I didn't know all of this back in 2004 when I got the mystery disease. Today, mega detox. And this is such an important show, but it's not just a show. It's a show when you talk to somebody like Lynn, who has been doing this and helping people, whether you know her for being one of the most incredible medical intuitives, or you understand what the body channel is, or you look at and you've worked with her about energetic dives into what's going on, or you know what she does, whether it's the creator of the body channel or color therapy or Reiki, all of these things, when you put them together, it is 30 years of energy work. Now, why is that so important to me? Because 20 years ago, it's our 20th anniversary, 6 months after signing on to the show, I went on a pathway. And if you'd have said to me energy medicine or medical intuitive, I probably would have stared at you for quite some time. Today, I know that I'm alive today because I was open enough and desperate enough back then when nobody was saying energy or even mindfulness. I had some great people along the way guide me. Today, that's what Lynn's doing. This is her hitting the box saying, look, we need to look at this really closely. If you don't think that after 3 years that you don't need a detox, by the end of the show, you'll see how very, very important this show is. Lynn, it's great to have you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you letting me be here.
Look if you'd have talked to me like back in the day, Benny would say, I would have just be sideways on you. But thanks to the angel lady, I did find a naturopath who saved my life along with a bunch of other people. I did open up my mind. I did learn and then change the direction of the show. But let's talk about where we are today and how you got here. Because I think everybody I talk to that is out in the world, like you out in the world, there is a story. I know that you have a story. I know you have a story.
My story is one of my oldest friends used to use me as her dog and pony show for her high school kids that she taught. They'd have parties and I'd be the little resident psychic. And her grandmother became sick one day. And I was in Atlanta, she was in Pennsylvania. And my friend said, look, can you see what's wrong with Baba? So I went into meditation And I woke up in her room in the hospital and we had a conversation. She said, all right, let me show you. And when she breathed in, it was like I turned into like this vapor, and she just breathed me in and I went through the nervous system, and then she'd spit me back out in the chair. She'd breathe me in again. I'd go through the cardiovascular system, and then she'd spit me back out in the chair. By the time we were done, I said my goodbyes and I woke up, and it was 3 days later. And I had 15 notebooks of information that I had written down while I was there. I never had an experience like that ever. And so I gave Carrie the information. She knew exactly what tests had to be run, all the information, and her mom made the doctors do it. And sure enough, it was all correct, everything she gave me.
I mean,
so it was quite the experience. But I have to say, I was pretty afraid of it for a good while after that.
That's why I use the word desperate, because I mean, I wasn't getting better by the conventional means. And it wasn't until we put both conventional together, right, with, for lack of a better word, natural, right? Yeah. That's when the real power popped in. And I watched these two doctors, brilliant in their own rights, work out their differences. Mostly my allopathic doctor had to work it out. But I watched them come together and the results was amazing. But I was like you, I was like, what the heck is going on here, people? Right.
And I think that's one of the biggest things about energy medicine versus Western. I mean, I know there's a lot of differences, but one of the biggest ones that I see is energy medicine practitioners are willing to be wrong, to do research, and to have a different client show you something different that then makes you go and do more research and understand it better. So many doctors today are just like, okay, everybody that has, can't lose weight and their hair is falling out, let's put them on thyroid pills. And that's what everybody gets. So to me, that's one of the biggest differences in my abilities, my intuition, even the information that I get, how I get it, and all that has changed so drastically over 30 years. It's incredible. And it still continues to change. So I'm always looking for what is that new thing? What's something that's going to change this? And then I go back and I look at clients that I know that had this issue and go, okay, so is this going to help these people? I'll go back to those people and say, okay, here's something new I was given. Let's try this if we haven't been able to resolve it to this point.
I love it. You said a magic word for me. May I say it again? Research. Is that what sets you apart? Now, look, I love the word. I didn't know I would love the word. I realized I was so curious. I mean, I love the research I did on broken promises, and I'm back at it only because people keep asking me for my research. But I love the idea of looking at things. I like to see what people discover. And I learned that through my own journey. I learned that there are so many things in the world that we don't talk about. Is that what has helped you along the way to become who you are, Lynn?
I do massive amounts of research. Mine's kind of a little different than the average. So I pull in millions of bodies from around the world, kind of like a Google search, the way you filter a Google search. And I'll say, okay, let's take thyroid disease. Let's say, all right, I need millions of people who have quote unquote thyroid disease, have been diagnosed with this, that are willing to give me information about exactly what's going on and how to change it. And then I will get all kinds of information from all these bodies. Then I'll go and actually do medical research online and pull up papers and see what they have to say. And then I'll compare the two and say to the bodies, okay, this is what they had to say. Is this correct? And it's either a yeah, a no, or a yeah, but. And yeah, but means there's parts of this is wrong. Or it'll say, okay, it's correct onto here, but as soon as you get to this paragraph, nope, it goes off the rails. This is really what the problem is. So that's how I do my research. And I do massive amounts of it because I love it.
Well, and the reason I'm asking you about that is because today we're talking about the mega detox. And when you talk about something like that, and we're going to introduce this to people today, it's very important, I think, and so exciting to have you here, is that you are somebody that has really drilled down. You know, you may start at 38,000 feet up like an airplane, but by the time you're done, you are down in there and you're understanding the interactions with things, you know, how to work through this. What is a mega detox? But this is so important because we have this earth skin. We call it our bodies. And I don't think we even know what we know about what we are doing to it right now. And I don't claim
Very
to
much.
know. Okay.
Very much so. And a lot of people think that if they can't see it or touch it or taste it, that it's not hurting them. So Wi-Fi, radiation, 5G, nanoparticles, right? The whole idea of nanoparticles is we can't see them. So we think that if we can't see it, that it's not hurting us. And those are the things that are hurting us the most these days.
I got to share something with you. I need you to weigh in on this for me. Two things. I'm helping a friend of mine, horrific situation in the whole home. I mean, it's horrible what the development that's being built next door has done to her property. But I know what black mold is. And I cannot find the right words. I mean, we've already done one remediation, and I cannot find the right words to say, don't touch it, don't move it, call the people back. And sometimes I'm at a loss for words of explaining what it does to you. And I think that's why I like doing shows like this. And it's not just that. It's you get a water report back and they put one thing they found in the water and then they classify everything else as microbials. And I'm like, which ones?
Yeah.
Give me which ones? Now, maybe because I had to battle this for 10 years, maybe I'm a little bit more aware. But we don't even know what we don't know about what's going in our bodies, do we?
No. And, you have black mold, but just look at our food supply. People have no idea what we're eating, not a clue. Yeah. And I'm not trying to be superior here. I'm just saying, literally, we really don't know. No. Even the supplement industry. No, I do not want the government to come and regulate it. I don't want them to put their fingerprint on any of it. However, we really don't know. We're just trusting whoever the manufacturers are of these things because nobody's looking at them. So this is why learning to talk to your own body is so important, because your body will tell you, okay, yeah, I like this particular brand or this particular one. And all of our bodies are different. So what is going to nourish yours may not nourish mine in the same way.
Right. I love that. It's not a one size fits all. Lynn, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to really talk about this. What do we need to know about detox? And you're right. It's not a one size fits all. Does everybody have to be gluten-free? I don't know the answer to that, but I know there are some things I'm drawn to that other people are not. Before we go to break, how do people find out more about you?
The website is www.thebodychannel.com.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, what are some of the things that create health problems that we need to detox? Do you know what they are? Wait till you hear this. When we come back, and it's not overwhelming, it's a place to start. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Lynn. Welcome back. When that song was gifted to me, thanks to Nick Johnson, I was at a place where I'd never been before. My body had never failed me. Yeah, clearly had some emotional issues and other things, but my body, oh my goodness, never failed me. And then it did. And I learned some things. And Lynn, that's what we're talking about today, a mega detox. And so let's get down into an update, if you would, on some of the things that create health problems. And detox is a solution.
There's so many things that people don't realize. We all get chicken pox as a kid, and we think, okay, we're done with this now. But the herpes virus strains are all some of the most insidious viruses that are out there. They constantly cause problems. They can cause problems when you're in your 40s and 50s. Shingles is another herpes strain. You have the cold sore, you have genital. I mean, everybody has herpes virus of some sort, most likely in their body. And Epstein-Barr is one of them. We used to call it mono when I was a kid. So these things reoccur later in life. They can wreak havoc. They go dormant for a while. And then stress of life, another infection, something else will trigger them and they'll start all over again, and they will just rage and can rage for years before they go dormant again. So this is, one of the most common ones. Some of the latest research, and I've been saying this for years with MS, that MS is a parasitic infection. And there is a gentleman now, a pathologist, who's come out and said he did 14 autopsies on people with MS, and they are the lesions that are the things that they diagnose it by, literally are the worm sacs for the babies of the parasites that are on the spine or wherever. So parasites are a huge problem these days. So there's just so many of them. The chemicals that we have, there's so many toxic chemicals that are out there. We all know the BPA in the plastics and things like that. But ethylene glycol is another one. And even in the vaccine, they used ethylene glycol as a part of the liquid nanoparticle that they use as the delivery system. So the chemicals are everywhere. You go outside on your lawn, your dog goes outside and walks on the lawn after it's been treated by the pest guy. But there's so many chemicals that are in there. So again, these are all those hidden things, just like the 5G and the Wi-Fi and all of that we talked about earlier. It's the hidden things that we can't see that are really hurting us.
It's so interesting we're bringing this up because I hope that through this show, and I hope that through what you're doing and the words that we're speaking today, that we institute a level of awareness that people don't have. I love that you brought that study up. I also did a number of shows on similar studies with Alzheimer's and the lesions in the brain and the studies on those. Brains from Harvard School, random brains selected, cut them open, looked at them, they were not Alzheimer's. And so these are the beginning, but I want to talk to you about a couple of other things. Now, this is going to seem irrelevant, but it's not. One of the most popular pop culture shows to date. It's a little bit bizarre, but it's really reached enormous. It's called The Last of Us or something like that. The whole premise of the show is that there is something else among us that can really not be good for us, and it's fungus. What are your thoughts on that?
Fungus can be terrible because they emit spores, and those spores then can go and stick to the lining and the alveoli in the lungs. They can stay. I've had a client where in her sinuses, they just stuck there and stayed there for years and years and years. And it was like she had black mold inside of her sinus cavity. It can get in the bloodstream once it gets in. So you have to remember that your whole gastrointestinal tract is one tube from the mouth to the anus. It's just one tube that goes all the way through. So you're hoping that if something goes in, it comes out, because if it stays in there, it's going to find its way somewhere else in the body. Yeah. And all these have effects.
So let's talk about this for a minute, because we don't want to we have to whisper 5G, Wi-Fi. We have to whisper it, right? Because it's so prevalent now. I mean, it's not just having Wi-Fi. Now you get the Wi-Fi, you get the booster, you get the whole thing. And that's a form. But what are we looking at in some of the other ways that we are ingesting, taking in, putting our skin exposure to? What are some of the others? And I do want to go back to what you said about nanoparticles, because you're a medical intuitive and you're one of the best. And you must pick up so many of these things. It so fascinates me on how you're able to drill down. But we are talking detox today, aren't we?
We are.
So the things we're mentioning, we have a solution for it, don't we?
We do. We do.
But we don't think about nanoparticles. We don't think about microplastics. And certainly until I mentioned to the water person that tested the water that I wanted to know the microbials, he wasn't thinking about them either.
Well, they've done a study and came out with it, and every person that they've tested has a credit card size amount of microplastics in our bloodstream. Us as humans, So,
Wow.
you know, we see all those pictures on YouTube or whatever of the whales that have died on the beach and they, you know, gut them and their whole gut is full of plastics from the ocean. We're getting to be the whales these days.
Yeah.
A credit card full of microplastics in our bloodstream, each of us.
Mm.
Imagine what our immune systems are doing.
We know what they're doing. We know the numbers of autoimmune diseases. Like, let's just stop for a minute and have a moment. One of the fastest growing outside of Lyme disease, one of the fastest growing, yes, this is a statistic, so please do not pull me from social media. I want to tell you, this is an actual statistic. Lyme disease, from every account, from everybody that does any study, is one of the fastest growing, what they call epidemics. Whether it's the science magazines, Harvard Business, Harvard Science, they all are looking at it. However, what we're not talking about in the context of this is the number of other items out there that we don't know that are affecting us. And I mentioned autoimmune. It's one of the fastest growing groups of categorized illnesses. Doesn't matter what they are. Could be RA, could be MS, could be ALS, right? But that's our immune system fighting something. So when are we going to realize that there may be something in there it's fighting, Lynn?
Well, a lot of times the immune system gets confused. So, and that confusion can come in a lot of different ways. So it can be, I call it a designer disease. You can have a parasite that's wearing a virus as a hat. You know, they've teamed up together. And so the body only sees the one, it tries to attack that, and then it gets confused because it doesn't see what's actually wearing the hat, and then it just starts going after your own tissue. So you can have that kind of thing. You can also have something like the spike protein, where the spike protein is so similar to the proteins we already have in our human body that the body doesn't know what it's fighting. So that's the spike protein's biggest advantage, is it has so many similar parts. So the body just starts attacking itself rather than attacking the spike protein. So there's a lot of different ways that it can trick the immune system.
Yeah. What I love about today and what you're bringing is you're going to help us today. We're going to take a look at this now. You know, there are ways that we can relieve our bodies from some of this. Talk about, what can we do to neutralize chemicals? Chemicals could be more than just chemicals.
You can eat as clean as you possibly can. Remember, there's a lot of skin exposures that we go through. I mean, you just go outside and there's things that are in the air. So a lot of the things are just being very aware of your surroundings. You know, I don't have any carpet in my house. Carpets give off gassing. You have to be very careful with your mattresses. They can off gas for years and years and years. You got mercury in your teeth and what that does to your brain and your neurological system. So, you know, a lot of people think these are all conspiracies. They're not.
No.
They're not conspiracies. Do your own research if you don't want to believe me or Dr. Pat or whoever.
Yeah.
Do your own research, because all of these things have big implications.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you know, if you go to a doctor and you're ever wondering, do I have any heavy metals in my body? And you're okay, that would be a blood test. You can get tested for that. You can find someone that will check that out, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. Then you have to ask yourself, does any of that really bother you? Should you have any reason to worry about them? There are reasons to worry about them. Isolated things, one thing, let's say, may or may not cause a situation. I say that very loosely. But we're talking about every day living in our environment where we know our environment is being tested. But you ever wonder, once upon a time, you could actually be in the sun? Once upon a time, you could. And today, not even advised by even the most remote of practitioners and doctors. You ever wonder why that is?
Well, see, I can't use sunscreens.
I can't either.
So, and that's part of what this is. You know, you asked before the break about gluten. most people that are gluten-free in the United States, I could take to Italy and they'd have absolutely no problems eating the pasta. Because it's not the pasta, it's not the wheat, it's how the wheat is harvested and the chemicals they put on it. It's a chemical problem, a chemical sensitivity. And this is what so much of this is. And the other piece I want to bring up in terms of like the conspiracy theory is people will say, okay, so we live in the same family. How come I'm the one with the autoimmune and nobody else has it? If it was all that we use deodorant, we'd all have the same problem, right? So, but the problem with autoimmunes is you can have 15 genetic markers for an autoimmune, and some will never get it, and some will get all 15, and some will be halfway in between, because the genes don't mean as much as that RNA that activates the gene. And those genes are activated either by a toxin, by an infection, or by an emotional stressor. So this is what then can activate and say, okay, this person's going to get breast cancer and this person's not. So it's, again, just like you said earlier, it's not one size fits all. It depends on your body, how your immune system is already taxed or overtaxed, and what that's going to do to your body when you get some small cold, some flu, some infection, or you have too much stress at the office or at home, or you bump into some chemical, how your body's going to react versus everyone else's.
Yeah. And that's what I love about this. We're going to be opening up the phone lines for all of you today. When we come back, lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my, what do I mean? Thoughts, feeling, emotions. What do they mean? How do they have an impact on us? And why did somebody say to me back in 2004, do you think you're a little bit emotionally out of balance? Are you a little bit overwhelmed by fear? And when they said it to me, I didn't have a clue about what they were saying. Looking back, oh boy, did I get a lot of information. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about thoughts, feelings, emotions, but more importantly, make sure you have lots of information about Lynn. And we're going to open up the phone lines for everybody. Let's take a short break there, Jacob. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I want you to remember this, thebodychannel.com. thebodychannel.com. What we're talking about here and how you can find out more about Lynn, who has been referred to as the medical intuitive on steroids, and you'll find out why. Clients enjoy a pain-free release from all of the issues that have plagued them, and it is a process. Today is the show that's giving you that introduction. We'll take your calls at 1-800-930-2819 if you have a question for Lynn. But we are talking Mega Detox right out of the gate with Lynn, and Lynn will be back. But this is the first one out of the gate. Thoughts, feelings, and emotions are what we're going to talk about here. But I want to also know, I want people to know why we're talking about Mega Detox and where they can find out more about that. Because we're not just talking about it. You have solutions. If they go to your website, they'll be able to get the solution, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. This is educational, but this is action-oriented today. Let's get into that thoughts, feelings, and emotions, because when that was said to me back in 2004, I just wanted to grab that person and shake them. Took me a while to figure out how correct they were with that, but how does that work, Lynn?
Thoughts, feelings, and emotions in Eastern medicine, they'll say things like, we hold anger in our liver and joy or lack of joy in the pancreas. I don't find that in my work to be true. To me, our bodies are kind of like the Library of Congress with all the little card catalogs, and you might stick your anger in your big toe and end up with gout, whereas somebody else may stick it in their spleen and have immune system problems. We all kind of figure out where we're going to stick our stuff. And that's kind of what part of my job is to go, okay, wait a minute, why are we putting this here? We need to unwind this and unravel this and get it out, because this is where it's always going to go. I can remember years ago, I had a woman that she had her gallbladder out, and I didn't know it at the time. And I was working on her, and I said, well, man, you are stuffing all your stuff right in this spot. She goes, I don't even have a gallbladder. I said, well, it doesn't matter. It was a big lesson for me, because it didn't matter that she had it out. She still continued to stick all her stuff there, even though she had a doctor take the organ out. So the important piece is we have to stop storing things in our body. Our body are cells that an energy that is just in chaos. They're just supposed to be moving energy. And whenever we try to make something solid, then we will create a dis-ease at some point in our body.
And look, what we're talking about is something that we've been given mechanisms. We've been given mechanisms from as far back as you want to go. Like if you see a giant behemoth thing coming at you, I'm just saying, there is a good level of fear that you will express, and it will give you enough to say, I better run from that thing. But we are in such a different world right now. You know, the level of information that people choose to take in. And I say that we choose it. You could choose to have your phone so attached to you, you don't know what to do, or you can't be away from your internet, or instead of just having a TV and a phone, right? You have a TV, a phone, a tablet, and some other new device now that's just come out because you don't want to miss anything. And if you think you do miss anything, it triggers an emotional reaction in you that could either mean, oh my goodness, they're talking about me, or I'm not enough. You see, this is where we are today.
It can also be as simple as I can't lose weight. I do this emotional eating because every time I get sad, it reminds me of when mommy used to make me cookies every time I was sad when I was a kid. So now my brain goes to, I feel sad about anything, go get a cookie. So
Wow.
all kinds of, I call these patterns, all kinds of thoughts, feelings, and emotions that create these patterns that we then carry throughout our entire life. And they're programs that run our life. Like we don't recognize that I'm sad. We just recognize, wow, I'm hungry for a cookie.
Yeah. You know, so true. My sister is like the perfect example. My sister was the best person on the planet, and she died on a hospital floor at about 450 pounds. I'm putting it mildly. They couldn't turn her over. She had an asthma attack. But when my sister got down to court, anything grandma taught us how to cook, she cooked. She opened her door in the worst part of Yonkers, New York, and people came to her place because that was her emotional go-to. It was that, wasn't it? We all have that in some way.
And it can be anything. Everything is a program. Everything is a trigger. We can create problems. So just to give you a really good example of how we really create a problem, I'll have a lot of women who their marriage is not going as well as what they had hoped. You know, they've been married 20 years or something like that, or 30 years. Maybe the husband even cheated on her, but she decided to stay, right? So now she decides, I'm not interested in sex with him anymore. Okay. So, but if you just go and try to tell your partner, I'm not interested in sex, that doesn't go over so well.
No.
So then every time he comes to say, hey, how about some, saying no, again, it's not going over so well. So what ends up happening is if you create a medical reason to not have sex, that only makes him the jerk if he tries to get on you about not having sex anymore. And so a lot of women create prolapses. So it's not possible to have sex anymore. So this is very convoluted thinking and programming, but these are the kinds of things that we can create because we're creative beings. We're creating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So be careful what you want to create. Make sure that you're creating out of consciousness and not unconsciously, because that's when we create our crap.
Yeah. And let's just talk about that. That is also toxic. I mean, if you really want to know about it, it really is toxic. And it's one thing to have one toxic thought, and it's another thing to have thousands of them. But it starts to create almost this feeding frenzy that we get, and it's supported. It's supported by, I was shocked myself. I don't watch a lot of TV with commercials. Anything I want to watch, I get on the thing, what do you call that? DVR thing. And then I can fast forward. But I was watching the Super Bowl and I was just shocked by how many ways I'm incompetent or I'm not enough. because whatever that is with me, you're going to give me a solution for it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get right online in the moment, and I'm going to buy it now.
But it's called television programming for a reason. See, we all forget. They don't talk about that being programming anymore. When we were kids, you knew it was called television programming.
Yeah.
That was the purpose from the get-go.
Yeah.
Again, not a conspiracy. That is why it was created.
Yeah. And it hasn't changed, but let's talk about this. I alluded to the fact before. I'm going to get right into this now. I alluded to the fact before because it was shocking to find out how many heavy metals I had in my body and the magnitude of them, when I went through this. I mean, I didn't even understand it. But we need to talk to people about why we're talking about a mega detox today, because they're everywhere and there's a way to remove them. Give us a rundown about the facts about toxins in our daily life. Let's get a snapshot of this.
There's just so many of them. I mean, probably one of the biggest statistics that I love is a quarter of the 82,000 chemicals that's in use in the United States have never been tested for toxicity on humans. A quarter of 82,000. I mean, that should tell you so much right there. And these find their ways in our food. And, I live on a farm, so I got chemicals at the wazoo here. I try to be as natural as I can. But, when you have a farm, there's just things that happen, and you have vaccines for your animals and everything else. So with this detox program, there are 24 different things that we're trying to help you detoxify, because all of these things can be toxic to your body. And remember, anything that's environmental or infectious or a stressor are the things that can activate the DNA, which creates autoimmunes. And that's one of the biggest things that we're trying to help people to stop.
Look, the National Wildlife Federation, every once in a while, they'll give me a report. I love to study cotton. My mom was from the South, so cotton, right? Cotton pickers and things like that. This is the most shocking to me about cotton. So in T-shirts, for every 9 ounces of cotton, the amount, which is in an average T-shirt, let's say, growers use 17 teaspoons of chemical fertilizers and nearly a teaspoon of active ingredients, including pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, and defoliants. Put on the body.
I have friends that when they buy something, they never wash it. They wear it first. I mean, as soon as I put it on my body, I'm like, oh, I can't handle it. Like, I've got to get some of that washed out before I can even put it on the body. But that's a great example of, we don't see it. It goes through the skin. We have no idea. We just went and absorbed whatever that is up.
And we put it on the babies.
Yes.
Cotton is one of the most produced textiles. Do we put on the baby? On the baby. I want to just jump into this for the moment, and I may decide to skip the next break. Let's talk about the mega detox for a minute, because that's so very important. I love that we're calling it a mega detox, but most of the time we say that, and people think all I got to do is go get that celery juice. But let's describe what you're talking about and what it addresses for folks here, and how they can get this and find out more about it on your website. Let's walk them through what this will do and what it is.
So the 24 different things that we work on, and I know for people that are new to this, just like when Dr. Pat didn't really believe in the TFEs, the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, this may be a little bit difficult pill to swallow. But these are MP3s that have these energies embedded in them that will help to literally pull whatever the target is out. So we have 24 different MP3s that to work on this. So we're looking at chemicals. We've been talking about that, vaccines, microplastics. One we haven't talked about is hypersonic weaponry. We can go there if you want. I actually have clients that are especially in Research Triangle area in North Carolina, and they've been having some issues with that.
That's right.
Nanotechnology, cosmic radiation because of changes to Schumann's resonance, past life and disease detox from other lifetimes, mind control, implants, microchips. They're talking about microchipping all of us. They're talking about even having tattoos that you just wave in front of something and it's basically your personal microchip.
That's right.
Viruses, bacteria, fungus, parasites, radiation, microwaves, 5G, traumas. Traumas is a huge thing. Remember, we said any kind of stressor, mental stressor on a person can activate that DNA. So we want to get those traumas out. Inflammation, toxins in your gut, hormonal cleanup, and really all of the toxins, all of the detoxes that anybody talks about and that I talk about. Really, the main goal of all of it is to lower your inflammation, because chronic inflammation is actually what is killing every person that dies. It's based on chronic inflammation. And a lot of times that is created because your hormones are out of balance. So all of this detox is to get your hormones in balance and to get rid of your inflammation.
Yeah. Inflammation. Remember, we talked before, and I mentioned autoimmune, right? So I didn't mention that, like, what happens with that is inflammation. And some of the levels of inflammation that I was referring to, these are levels that are so great that all you get in the work, the blood work that comes back, is that little thing that goes like that, the little thing that says greater than. But let's talk about what you've done to create these for a minute, Lynn, if we could. I just gave a short synopsis on my 10-year journey to save my life. I've talked about it a little bit and I've done shows about it, but I didn't have this tool that you're referencing. I didn't have what you're offering today. Tell us what people have discovered from the MP3s and this mega detox.
With the parasites, I've had people come back and tell me that they actually had tapeworms or different worms that show up in the commode. We just have had so many different things with the Wi-Fi. People will play it to make sure that they don't have any symptoms from Wi-Fi sensitivity in their homes. With microplastics and really, to me, the Schumann's resonance, your body is in tune with Schumann's resonance, which is basically the heartbeat of the earth in the universe. We are in tune with that. And so I think a lot of times they'll say, okay, we're having solar flares and things like that. And really, that's also a part of that Schumann's resonance being out. And a lot of people lately will feel like their nervous system is just on fire. Like they try to go to sleep and all of a sudden it's just like, they just feel like they're bouncing off the walls. So they work to calm things like that down. But a lot of it really is just to get rid of some of these herpes viruses, Epstein-Barr, bacteria, parasites, all of these kinds of things out of the body so that you can be healthy, you can be pain-free. That's the target.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. Let's talk about this for a minute. Inflammation, pain. We forgot to make that little connection right there. Okay. Yep. Now, even to this day, what you hear is, I got a pain in my joint. I got a pain in my knee. I got a pain in my back. I got a pain. Okay. But we haven't really dropped down into the common sense version of pain and inflammation and how happy they are together. Yep. Like happy forever.
And this also goes back to the comment we just made about the endocrine system, because it's the hypothalamus that runs the whole endocrine system that keeps these pain loops going. So I work a lot with clients on the pain loops, because sometimes maybe you had Epstein-Barr years ago and it created this pain loop, and somehow the Epstein-Barr is gone or it's dormant at the time, but the pain loop never got reset. So even though it's not active, the pain loop is stuck on. So the person still has their back pain or their arthritis in their hands or neurological symptoms because nothing was reset.
Look, it'd be so easy to take the magic wand and try to erase everything you and I are talking about today. But that's not what people really want. They want to be free. They want to be free from pain. They want to really know and understand that they can bring their bodies, their minds, their emotions, their heart to a beautiful, optimal state. And they also want to know that what you're talking about is available to them, right?
Yes.
Not just the 1% in the world, but all of your research, all of the years that you put into this, what you've set up is a way to set people free from the shackles of not feeling well.
That's the hope. That's the target.
Well, that is the hope. Because, the one thing that I kept in my consciousness for 10 years is that freedom. That freedom to have my body back, back better, actually. That freedom. The freedom to have my mind, work in the way that I thought it could work. The freedom to know that I can manage my emotional response to things. It doesn't mean I don't feel things. But isn't that what you've created in the Mega Detox, though?
It is. And, my tagline is become BFFs with your body, because you chose this body this lifetime. And a lot of people feel like their bodies abandoned them or their bodies betrayed them because they're in so much pain or they have so many problems. But that's not what the body is there for. The body is not trying to do anything to hurt you. So if you can become best friends with it and learn to live at peace with it, and the two of you focus your energies in the direction you want to go, then things can really change and can really happen for you. It's the synergy of the two coming together. So this is your body in this lifetime. Why not be friends with it and really make an amazing life, whatever you have left, whatever any of us have left, make it amazing rather than staying in the pain.
And, people can go to your website, thebodychannel.com, and what are there, 24, about 15 to 20 minute MP3s or so. Did I get that number right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. There's 24 MP3s.
Yeah. You call it remote remedy healing work. I love this because I know that this works. I know that this works. And sometimes it is so hard. I looked for something much more complicated because that's the way we're trained.
Yeah.
We're trained to believe pill, potion, lotion, or a knife is the only way we're going to restore ourselves to that young freedom we had with our bodies, our minds, and our emotions. But that's not your research. That's not what you've done. You've created something where people can get a fresh start.
That's what the target is. So you listen to these MP3s. My suggestion always is that you listen intently at least once. But even after that, you don't have to listen. You can put it on mute and play it in the house. And if you play it in the house and your spouse is there or your kids are there, it will work on everybody that's in, I'm going to say within energy distance, in your house, in your apartment. It will work on all of them. We've done weight loss programs where whoever purchased it called in and said, well, my husband ended up losing 20 pounds and doesn't even know he's listening to this, so, and he's wanting to know why.
Can you do it? How about at night? I'm one of these people. I go to sleep with something playing and it'll play all night long. How about that at night? What are your thoughts on nighttime?
I have some hardcore clients that's what they do. And some of them will even take them and put them together and loop them so that they, for me, my body never chooses that. Again, another reason why you should be best friends with your body and start asking your body some questions, like, I think people will be amazed. You should number each of these 1 through 24. And when you wake up in the morning, you say, body, which one do you want to listen to? And if it says number 6, you look up, okay, number 6. Ooh, that's the nanotechnology one. And you're thinking to yourself, I'm sure a lot of people on this call are thinking, I don't have nanotechnology. Like, how would that have gotten in my body? But you'll be surprised when all of a sudden your body asks to hear that one, and you'll have body reactions a lot of times because that's really the one that the body wants, because the body's going, this is in here and I want it out.
Yeah. I forgot to mention, now, when people go here to purchase this too, they could also schedule time with you. I forgot that.
Yes.
Okay.
I do 25-minute sessions. Mm-hmm.
It's important. It was important for me because I needed somebody to talk to about what was really happening with me. And I found I couldn't really talk to people. If I started to talk to them, they would go to a place of either, oh my God, you poor thing, or they would hold a version of illness that I wasn't holding for myself. And so it's so important to have somebody like you who can actually help people pinpoint something, right? I'm imagining, I'm making this up now, of course, but I'm imagining when, we work together that you will tune in on something that maybe I am aware of or not, right?
I will ask you, what are the top 3 to 5 things that you want to work on? But while you're speaking, I'm also asking the body what it wants to work on.
I could
sometimes the list is the same, and sometimes the list is very different.
I can tell you right now what that is, but that is important. And it doesn't have to be this deep thing. I know for me, okay, I know we have a minute left. I'm just going to tell you, I have a tournament coming up in Pittsburgh. I want to be in the best shape of my life for that. Okay, it's ping pong, but so what? It's the national tournament.
That's a big deal.
I won the states, and I want to be in the best shape of my life. And I have gotten rid of the thought that this thing with my toe is going to hold me back. And so I don't know what that means. Does it mean losing some weight, building muscle? Probably all of it. I just know that's my end game for that. But I have more. So maybe next time when you come on, or maybe I'll schedule my own session with you. I don't have more than 3 or so, Lynn. And I hope.
But it doesn't matter. It may be an emotion that comes up. It can be something where this has been festering. You have to remember, disease starts out here in our field. Doctors have it wrong. They think it starts inside and moves out. It starts out here. And there's this thought, feeling, an emotion, or something that's been out here since you were a kid, and somehow it finds its way into the body at some point. God. Now, that can be a different speed for different people. It might be one day for some people, and it might be 50 years for others. So there's always something to work on. Always.
How do they do that now? We've got about 2 minutes left, but how do they get a hold of you? Is everything on the website?
Everything is on thebodychannel.com. You can sign up for a session. We'll have a special welcome from the Transformation Network people, and welcome to the Body Channel community. And we'll have the Mega Detox up so that they can take a look and see what they like.
Come on, let's just do it. I mean, I really have this goal set for myself, and I know what I have to do physically, but I don't know what I don't know about anything else that's in my way. I don't know. Lynn, thank you. Last question. What's your personal message? What do you want to leave us with today?
Learn to become best friends with your body.
Oh, totally.
It can save your life. It can prolong your life, and it can make your life an adventurous experience.
Oh my gosh. So cool. I can't wait till you come back. Please let everybody know. We're talking about Mega Detox program. We'll let all of you know when that is like ready, willing, and able to go, right? For people. And let's get this ball rolling. In the last hour, Carrie talked about starting. In this hour, this is what we've given you, how to start. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you.
Best audience on the planet. You asked for this. You said, what do we need, Pat? You keep talking about the 3 years and stuff. That's why Lynn's here. This is where you start. Pass it on, pay it forward. Let's help each other become best friends with our bodies and ourselves. Lynn, thank you so much. Jacob.
Thank you.
Brett,
bye, everybody.
All of you, we got more to come. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.